And I said that I thought it was a marvelous book. I enjoyed the read. It was put together very well. It detailed his heart difficulties, both clinical and sentimental. And clinical, any of you who've been face to face with some gimlet-eyed surgeon about 2 or 3 payments behind on his Mercedes can appreciate. I've got one doctor friend that who defines unnecessary surgery as performing an operation when you don't even need the money. But in that review, I said that I found the book flawed in one major respect. And that was, for those of you who recall Lewis's most recent heart difficulties, and those going back to the days which were the subject of that book, he had a faulty congenital heart valve that had to be replaced, and I think Ali would go along with this. They hemmed up this Duroc hog out at Emory and slaughtered it and took out the heart valve. Don't know if they checked it for worms or not, but Lewis has been acting kind of funny since then. And they took out Lewis's valve and put the pig valve in Lewis. And what I wanted to know and said in the review was, you know, what became of the pig? He didn't say in his book. Well, I found out at a cocktail party at Emory one night what happened to the pig. While they were operating, they had nothing else to do. They took out Lewis's old valve and they put it in the pig. And the pig, as you might imagine, underwent something of a personality change. Pig, in fact, now wears glasses, little mustache, gold neck chain, open front shirt, Gucci loafers, hangs out at singles bars in Atlanta, and is actually writing a newspaper column under the name of Ron Hudspeth. Unlike Emily, I was not given anything to say or any suggestions as to what I might say, and I don't know what that says about what was expected of me. But preparing for this thing a long time ago, at least on the way from the office, coming over here, I was trying to, hoping for that a surge of blood would reach my brain, and thinking about what to say at a library gathering. Well, I thought a logical thing to say would be first to read books, and I leave you with that advice. And better than that, to buy books. I don't know if the library is the best place to urge that course of action on you, but I do urge it on you. And both, I've found, are increasingly hard in this sort of future shock age we live in. There's so many distractions, and not the least of which is television. As Ali says, she is beguiled by television, as am I. I have to tell you that I watch far too much television in the age of cable television, where you can get 60 or so channels, and I have one of those Type A remote control devices. You can just flip around and watch 10 or 12 programs at once. It's put something of a strain on my marriage. My wife never knows when I'm going to change stations. We've even got a little dog that's developed a nervous tick. Can't stay in there, but there are things that will take you away from your reading, and you know, I know better than anyone, and particularly not so much network television. That's all pap and commercials, and you really don't have to worry about that or getting hooked on that. But when you get on cable TV, there's some weird things going on in the upper reaches of cable TV, particularly those double-digit stations. Up on channel 50, for example, on the Atlanta cable, there's this woman named Dr. Ruth, sort of a Transylvanian Ma Kettle. And she has this program called Good Sex, which is a redundant title if I've ever heard one. She is sitting there perched on the edge of a sofa, her feet don't even touch the ground, and she's just talking about things that Masters would be embarrassed to discuss with Johnson. Georgia is putting out an awful lot of good writers with an awful lot of good books, and I recommend to you all of those, certainly all of these here today. I know you'll want to scurry back and buy a lot of these books. But others come to mind. Olive Ann Burns' book, Cold Sassy Tree, if you haven't read it, is a wonderful read. Both of Farrell Sam's books are awfully good. Alice Walker The Color Purple. James Allen McPherson, who is another Georgia Pulitzer Prize winner who writes poetry and short stories, and whose collection of short stories won a Pulitzer back in the 70s. There are just so many good ones to read. Even Phil Donahue has a book now on how you might be more sensitive on the question of militant feminists, which I think is sort of a redundancy right there. But Donahue is marvelous. You know, they call him the Prince of the Purple Rinse, the Sultan of Sincerity. And Miss Ali, I'd like to get on his show too, if you can get me on that. Give him some. He has called on me for hair care advice. It's White Mink by Miss Clairol. I would also recommend a book that I've enjoyed reading and giving away is one called Rainey, R-A-N-E-Y, small press, don't even know the name of the press, but it's written by a college professor in North Carolina, and it's a good book, but sometimes hard to find, and it's sort of a tour de force. As Olive Ann Burns wrote in the first person male in her book Cold Sassy Tree, this fellow, Clyde Edgerton, I think his name is, wrote in the first person female in his book, and it's a marvelous read. And I recommend it to you. And of course I recommend to you Money, Power, and Sex, a self-help guide for all ages, which I think fits at least half of Mark Twain's description of a literary classic. Twain said a literary classic is a book that everyone wants to have read, but that nobody wants to read. Thank you.
Your definition of lawyer has now changed. Elliot Wigington of Rabun Gap, Georgia, is known worldwide for the Foxfire, but he started life in Wheeling, West Virginia. He was raised in Athens, Georgia, received a BA in English and MA in teaching from Cornell University, and his MA in English from Johns Hopkins. Now, he has taught school in Rabun County, Georgia since graduation from college. Foxfire magazine, which he started with his 9th and 10th graders in 1966, is still produced quarterly by the students and his 9th and 10th graders. And it's done by the students in his 3 English classes. Articles from the magazines make up the contents of the Foxfire book series. I was not aware, because I guess I had forgotten, there are now 9 volumes. Also, this book has been published by Doubleday, and the royalties incomes will undergird the book of the Foxfire Fund. And this is a nonprofit educational corporation. Aside from book reviews for publications such as the Washington Post and scores of magazine articles, he's just been busy doing a lot. Not only, I'm sure, was he happy to see that the Foxfire books have been selections for the Book of the Month Club and the Literary Guild, but I'm sure he was overjoyed when he saw that the total sales right now are approaching from those books 7 million copies. It's unbelievable. How many of you are familiar with the play Foxfire, which stars Hume Crone and Jessica Tandy, and she won a Tony in 1983 for her part in that play. And of course the play was based on parts of the books. He's also edited 2 collections of interviews that were published by Doubleday. All of the royalties from that he donated to Reading is Fundamental, Riff, and The Highlander. I wanted to say Ruff because I'm thinking of your dog. And also, he edited Aunt Airy. That's a Foxfire portrait, which was published by Dutton and which won a Christopher Award in 1983. His recent book, Sometimes a Shining Moment, was written for high school teachers and published by Doubleday just this past October. He still lives in Rabun County on the side of Black Rock Mountain. It's a 2-story log house that he designed and built himself over a 4-year period with the help of some of his students. Please welcome Mr. Elliot Wigington.